Jim Lampley basically cries foul and says the overwhelming majority saw Golovkin beating Canelo twice. Stay tuned. Boxing Ego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family we work in. Now, you know, just like clockwork, Jim Lampley, he did an episode of his show, The Fight Game, and he says the overwhelming majority saw Golovkin as the true victor, and, you know, basically screaming robbery, that Triple G has been, you know, cast aside by, you know, the powers that be in boxing. And I'm gonna read what he said and then further go on to give you guys my thoughts. He says, quote, "A year ago, it became clear the two fighters are colossally evenly matched in terms of the technical markers judging looking at while scoring. The two judges who scored the first fight responsibly were a round apart, 114 to 114, 115 to 113. Last Saturday night, that point was reinforced. Two 115 to 113s and another 114 twice, making that one a draw. And through all their painstaking scrutiny, the two decisive scorecards gave a tumultuous 12th round, a very hard round to score, to Canelo Alvarez, making him the official winner. Which remind us there is no sport in the world whose official structures are more disdained and disrespected by fans than those of boxing, and this becomes another reason why." He continues by saying, Lampley says, "Because while boxing insiders remain imprisoned with the arcane world of governing bodies and the title belts and state commissions and official judges and all the technicalities over which they proceed, the general public has made a different and far simpler decision. By any overwhelming majority, fans and general media have decided Gennady Golovkin won both fights. They don't need to confuse themselves with CompuBox numbers and round-by-round scoring and a technical analysis. Via the metric of social media and among themselves on the street, they have spoken loudly again. They like the way Triple G competes. They love the passion his face projects. They are enthralled with his heart. When Muhammad Ali was judged the loser in the first fight with Joe Frazier and lost his unbeaten record as a result, many in his generation were crestfallen. But then we learned something as Ali's aura only grew bigger and Frazier had to deal with the reality that the numbers on the scorecards did nothing to diminish the love the audience felt for their hero. Now Triple G is something of a latter-day Muhammad Ali, a global superstar, seen as having been twice martyred by the hidebound and impenetrable processes of a sport that can't get out of its own way. Canelo's victory, however satisfying at first, will ultimately do little to increase the size of passion of his audience, built in from the start as a result of his favorable cultural perch as the face of Mexican boxing. But the two decisions which have frustrated Gennady Golovkin have dramatically multiplied the size of Triple G Nation, which is now a global cult. You don't have to win to be the winner. That's boxing, that's life. Listen, this is the biggest crock of horse shit that HBO has come out with. I don't know who paid who or the behind the scenes shit, but this is crazy. HBO boxing is on its way out. Promise you that. You know what I'm saying? When the dust settles, when the smoke clears, see who's around. HBO boxing or new media. You know, Death Row East, believe in it. I mean, this is egregious. You have Jim Lampley, like, I don't know who wrote this scripture, you know, it was well worded and stuff, but they're talking a lot of gibberish, you know. Canelo needs to leave HBO. His contract ended. Oscar De La Hoya, if you ever see this, pull your fucking redhead fighter from HBO boxing. They look like a sinking ship, right? And they clearly don't favor you to even put out anything like this. I mean, we're comparing Triple G to Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. Wow. Bottom line is this. Triple G is a good fighter. He's a silver medalist. Gennady Golovkin has faced two guys who are in the elite primes of their career, who had sense, and like in terms of it made sense for them being at middleweight. You know, they were like true middleweights size wise, and you know, it made sense being there. And both times those fights have been controversial. You know, even if you had Triple G winning both Canelo fights, even if you had him winning, the other guy I'm referring to is Daniel Jacobs, none of them have been clear. There's been no separation. There's been no form of dominance. And, you know, typically you see like close fights, you can't call them robberies. But Triple G, he really hasn't beaten anyone on this stature, right? And beat them to the point where he pulled away from them. He hasn't done that with Canelo in 2 fights. He definitely didn't do it with Jacobs. I thought he lost that fight too. You know, I don't know what happened. Like, I think people just, I really feel this. I think a lot of people are sheep. You know, Canelo got a lot of haters. And the first fight, Adelaide Burst scorecard was some bullshit. We all know that. So a lot of people, they chose the low-hanging fruit, thinking that people would just back it up, you know, like, oh yeah, in the close fight, Triple G won, he was robbed, yeah. And they started this like robbery patrol and created this narrative that Canelo really didn't win again, right? And it backfired, because as you see it, more and more top level fighters came out. Juan Manuel Marquez, who has not had a good relationship publicly with Canelo, right? Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., Andre Ward, Olympic gold medalist, excuse me. Clarissa Shields, Amir Khan, you know, Clarissa Shields is a 2-time gold medalist. Amir Khan's a silver medalist. Billy Joe Saunders says it wasn't no robbery. Caleb Plant, very skilled guy, right? Marco Antonio Barrera. And we could go on and on and on. And don't get me wrong, there's been people like Paulie Malignaggi who also mirrored the sentiments that it was a robbery. But at the same time, he also, you know, went in on Canelo and didn't sound like he liked Canelo the way he tore into them. You know what I'm saying? So you can take it for what it's worth. But HBO is trying to create this narrative that it's so funny, you know, it's really funny. And it's funny how minorities and like especially African American fighters, they get treated. If they lose and they just lose, you're like, aha, look, you lost, you know, go back to the drawing board. But they put all this energy into Triple G and told us he was the boogeyman from Kazakhstan and the monster and stuff like that. And even when certain fighters that HBO wants to loses, right? I mean, let me say that again. Certain fighters, when HBO wants to win, when they lose, HBO still has a convenient excuse for it. You know, when Pacquiao lost to Mayweather, oh, but Pacquiao, he's still, Max Kellerman, he said Pacquiao, he says, I believe Floyd Mayweather beat Pacquiao, we all seen it. And he asked Pacquiao tough questions post-fight. In the post-fight interview, people were mad at him, saying, hey, why are you talking to Pacquiao like that? And he didn't even really do anything wrong. So he cowered down, and, you know, Max Kellerman was, you know, tried to come back correct. And then on Canelo versus Kirkland, he's talking about how the fight didn't live up to expectation, you know, just bullshit narratives from HBO, you know. But Max Kellerman was the one who said that despite him believing that Mayweather clearly beat Pacquiao, Pacquiao was still the best fighter of this generation, more so than Floyd Mayweather, because he moved up more weight classes. You know, so the people that they peg as the future of the sport, you know, the #1 pound for pound guys, or this guy will beat that guy. They can never, in a sense, lose, because HBO is going to always have a patsy, a scapegoat, an excuse, a reason why they lost. I mean, just listen to this. He says, despite Canelo winning, it says, but the two decisions which have frustrated Gennady Golovkin have dramatically multiplied the size of Triple G Nation, which is now a global cult. Like, this sounds like something Tom Loeffler or K2, somebody who represents Triple G and not, you know, fighters in general. Like, HBO is supposed to just represent everybody on their network. So it's like, it's almost like they know Canelo is leaving. You know, De La Hoya did do that interview with Los Angeles Times, and he said he has to explore his options. He needs to pull Canelo, if, in my honest opinion. He says the size of Triple G Nation. Who calls it that? You know what I'm saying? This is like, this is some of the most biased. I mean, from Harold Letterman's scorecard, when certain guys are boxing, he has them down in rounds and not getting the favorable scorecard, and they're losing by 4 or 5 rounds. And then when Triple G was more aggressive in the first fight, he has Canelo winning. And then when Canelo's more aggressive in the second fight, he still has Triple G winning when he's only jabbing for large chunks of the early rounds, the first 7 rounds. Like, this is crazy. And now you're comparing him to Muhammad Ali. Wow. And he says Ali's aura only grew bigger after Frazier, and Frazier had to deal with the reality that the number on the scorecards did nothing to diminish the love the audience felt for their hero. So you think at age 36, with Golovkin, the best names on his resume being controversial, Jacobs and Canelo, you think that anywhere near Muhammad Ali realm of possibilities in terms of global superstardom? He's talking about he's a global superstar. I don't see that. You look at see, HBO is full of shit. They're I promise you, they're not going to be new media. We burying everybody, you know, because Triple G's numbers without Canelo have never reflected this superstar status. You know, anytime he's been tried at pay-per-view, I guess you could say, he was on pay-per-view with a really good fight in Daniel Jacobs. They billed the David Lemieux fight as Hagler-Hearns, right? And neither one of them hit over 175,000 pay-per-view buys, 200,000 pay-per-view buys. You look at Conor McGregor, he just did a press conference, his return back to the UFC, and the UFC's official live stream had over 500,000 people watching. Now, I understand that's different than the pay-per-view in the sense of people aren't buying it. But, you know, real talk, I've seen Triple G versus Lemieux. The press conference was live streamed by HBO, and it never had anything near that amount of tuned in viewers watching the press conference. So, you know, HBO, it's kind of like they made their bed with their sports department. They keep putting out like statements and garbage that people don't, the fans can't relate to. Bottom line is, Canelo Triple G was a good fight. I understand you're trying to save face, and the guy you built up, you're trying to sway the audience and make them feel something, but this sounds bogus. It really does, you know. It says they like the way Triple G competes. The audience has spoken loudly again. They like the way Triple G competes. Wow. So now it doesn't matter if you win or lose, you know, if you prove if you're the pound. So you went from pound for pound to they don't care. They just like how you compete. Crazy. And it's funny, you notice when certain guys lose, you never see Jim Lampley. You never ever see him come to the defenses of that fighter and do all of this. Like with Daniel Jacobs, I thought he really beat Triple G. You know, I really did. You never see Jim Lampley be like, oh, it's a shame, and the spirit of Jacobs will always live on and prove to you that Miracle Man and miracles always do happen. You never see him come to bat in the aid of African-American fighters and people who else have been enthralled in a close loss. You know, when Triple G beat Jacobs close, you never see him do all this. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Make sure you smash the like button. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, is Ego signing off.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.